Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the place to be on a Monday night this week for round 11 of season 14 of the Monday Night Lights, coming to you live and exclusive on Top Split TV, where once again I am your host, Alex McKellar, and joining me tonight again will be the great Alex, John, AJ. Big night of racing ahead here for round 11 at Mosport.
Started lineup. We've got lots of internationals. Nearly hit 4K soft, and the cutoff was 3K to get into the race tonight. So I'm expecting big things.
Wow, that's a massive race. And once again, I cut you off. I keep forgetting to turn you on before you start talking. So apologies, everyone at home. I missed the first few words there. But as AJ was saying, bumper soft. In fact, the highest strength of field of the week. For those of you interested, we call the strength of field the soft, which is, of course, roughly speaking, the average iRacing or iRating of the drivers involved. The iRating, of course, is the skill level as measured by iRacing, which is a service we all know and love, and what that we're here racing on tonight, AJ. Plenty of action going on, of course, out there on track, and the big names have come out to play, as you say.
Yeah, I'm especially looking forward to seeing how Josh Burton goes. He's one of the quicker Aussies in the field, so he'll be taking it up. We've got Ian Bevan as well. He's representing ANZ as the top I-rated driver. But we've got Enzo Canter back, so we haven't seen him for a little while. For him's there, Gustavo Conde, another great driver, and Cristobal Otero Roman, and that's the top half of the field covered. And then plenty of great names down the bottom half as well. And as you know, this is a draft track, so you don't even have to be right up there with the number one car's pace to challenge for the lead in this one.
No, absolutely right, AJ, and the guys will be out there. Of course, we're on board with Gustavo Conde. We don't see him terribly often here, but the two Team Movano boys in Fahim Antonides, who we have on camera at the moment, and Enzo Canter, long-time favourite of the Monday Night Light crew, back joining us once again after quite an extended absence, I'd have to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think they're just coming around to do their first laps now, so we'll get an indication of their pace. And Fernandez putting in the fastest lap so far into the 32s. Oliveira, Pascal, he's into the 32s. It's looking like you're going to have to be doing a mid 32 for pole here.
Yeah, big props to the guys out there tonight. Plenty of good racing to be had, and the guys are putting on a show already. As you say, the time's really quick out there tonight. Actually, why don't we grab the time so the folks at home can see? 32.6, pretty strong times, I'd have to say. Very strong time here. The track temp's 27.8, so that's why they're getting out there pretty quickly, or getting around there pretty quickly, I should say. Ben Snell now jumped up to P2 on the board, just 6/100ths behind the great MNL champion of seasons past, Enzo Cantu. Like I said, he's had a bit of a hiatus, but he's back here tonight and really setting the world on fire already, AJ.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what Ben Snell can do, because we know he's qualified in a lot of these Monday Night Light races quite highly, put it on pole even. But then he's had the worst luck really ever since he won that race back in, was it Motegi? I think it may have been. But yeah, he's really struggled. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually transfer that good qualifying pace into an actual good race as well.
Yeah, that's right. Riding on board with Mr. Snell. Oh, Pascal now jumping to the top of the pops, forcing Snell actually down into P6 as he approaches the tail end of his second qualifying lap. Now diving into turn 8 there. Lost the rear end of the car here at the closing stages of the last race preceding this. Through turn 9 now into White's at the conclusion of his second lap. The rear of the car getting very sketchy. That will have cost him time. I don't know if he'll improve. And in fact, what's he done? 32.5. That has actually put him up to P3, if you can believe it. So despite that happy action with the rear of the car, jumping up to P3. Fantastic drive from Snell there. Just seeing who else is out on track. Fahim Antonides, this should be an interesting run. He looked like he bailed out on his earlier run as Cantor now, his teammate, sitting at the top of the pops. Well, time, no, he just had, I thought time might have run out there, AJ, but he's still continuing on this lap.
Yeah, and look, it's so close. The top 7 cars are covered by only a quarter of a second. So if that's any indication of how close it's going to be tonight, and like I say, you could be a good second off the pace, and that back straight is still going to keep you in it. So I mean, car 14, Timo Weemer, he's only 3/4 of a second off the pace. So there's absolutely no reason why the guys at the back, if something should happen at the front, why they couldn't capitalise and get on up there and get a really good result.
Yeah, absolutely. Fahim Antonides now coming to round out. Oh, he's just snuck in and he's jumped straight to the top of the standings. Fantastic effort from Fahim. And while the guys are gridding, let's take a look at our grid for tonight. Fahim Antonides, with that last second dash at the line, jumped to pole position with a 132.2. Just the less than 2/10 ahead of him. Well, quite a margin in the context of what you were saying, really, ahead of his Team Ivano teammate Enzo Cantor. P3, Ian Bevan leading the ANZ Club Challenge with a 32.4. P4, Ben Snell, likewise his Team Milo teammate with 32.5 sitting just behind him. P5, Carlos Olvera Pascal, who set their pace early but only managed to hang on to P5 on the grid. Cristobal Otero Roman, who's already joined us in the chat here tonight. Wish him all the best. Starting from P6. P7, Josh Bird. Look for him to come through. We know he's a quick driver and he's great, an open wheeler as well. P8 will be Ivan Blanco Fernandez with a 32.6 from Iberia. P9, Kevin Henderson. Back for another tilt. He's currently sitting well inside the podium. I think he's in P3 overall for the MNL Championship. Starting in P9 tonight. P10, Luke Witten returns to MNL once again. Former season champion starting from 10th. P11 tonight, Russell Clark, third of the Team Milo drivers and looking to make a good fist of it, still inside the points. And I think from memory leading the championship overall this time as we welcome back in P12, Mr. Håkon Grebstad after technical issue upon technical issue. He joins us once again. Gustavo Conde from Iberia in P13 and rounding out our field tonight with a 133.1, the Golden Sig himself, Mr. Timo Weemer, AJ, all lined up for what hopes to be a really exciting race ahead of us.
Yeah, interesting to see there. I thought Håkon would have been a bit higher on the grid. Car 7, but as you say, he hasn't raced a lot lately with computer issues, so we'll see how he goes. But yeah, Russell Clark in P11, and there's only P13 and 14 that won't be scoring points, so a good chance for him tonight.
As the lights go green and we are away here at Mosport for round 11, the penultimate round here at Monday Night Lights for season 14, and the guys charging down hard into the first corner. A bit of a wider shot if we can as Fahim leads them round. Turn 1 for the first time now, heading down into Clayton Corner. Sweeping left-hander, very, very dangerous to be too wide here. You don't want to be on the outside as we see a few further down in the back trying to make that work. Oh, there's contact in the rear. 12 cars gone around. I think we're on board Fernandez at the time. He's turned around. We might try and grab a replay a bit down the track as the guys down in front. It is Team Ivano 1 and 2. Can these boys work it out and get away from this high quality field before starting to race out for the win, AJ?
Yeah, Fernandez, they're just getting caught up with Luke Witten, unfortunately, on the exit of that turn 2. But yeah, now the guys have just got to settle in. There's such a long train of cars. Yeah, just settle in and try to make the most of it, try and survive.
Yeah, that's right. As Ian Bevan now looking to the outside of Cantor on the long run up the Andretti straight on lap 1. Thinking about looking outside, but instead pulls in behind, and Antonides now making room for Bevan on the outside, compromising both their lines, and really making the best of that, of course, was young Mr. Cantor, who has jumped to the front of this pack, and we know how much he likes to lead, AJ.
Yeah, and well, isn't this going to be a problem for Ian Bevan, because he's got 2 teammates at the front of the field, and as you saw there, Antonides were happy just to let Canter past, use that draft, and they're going to be a strong pairing out front, working together, no doubt, to try and break away from the rest.
Yeah, absolutely they are. I've seen these two work together before on a Monday night, so it'll be great to see if they can do that again and what the local boys can do about it, because there's at least two local boys sitting right in the draft now and looking to make a fist of this, and funnily enough, both Team Milo drivers. So, and then sitting in behind that, you've got the Spanish Armada, the two conquistadors in Pascal and Roman in P5 and 6, who are looking to get amongst it, with Josh Burden sitting in P7, would be the last two you'd call in this front pack, as we see Snell running very wide out of Moss there on the mid stages of lap 2. Fantastic pair of apexed corners there, making up the single hairpin at Moss. Brilliant design, as it was named after its designer actually. Sterling Moss, the great man himself, suggested making that a double apex corner there to really bring the crowds into play, and you can see that corner is so spectacular. It's one of the highlights of this circuit, and certainly where we expect to see a bit of action tonight, AJ.
Yeah, well, you say, I don't know if people would thank Moss for that, because I reckon that's probably one of the most cursed corners for drivers here. It's so tricky to get the first part of that corner right and make sure you get a good drive out of the second part of the corner. But as you're saying, it looks like the secondary packs dropped off now. Hakon got through on Henderson on that lap, but they're now 1.6 seconds off Josh Burden in P7.
Yeah, that's right. We've got the three drivers there in Grebstad, Henderson and Conde coming through the sweeping second corner there at Clayton's. Is it Clayton's? It's the corner you have when you're not having a corner, but by gee, it is a tough one. Sweeping now through the right-hander at Quebec on lap 3 of 16 here tonight. This secondary pack now led by Hawken Grebstad, with Henderson and Conde in tow, and Witten now sitting almost nice, almost at that magic second mark behind. With who we lost. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've just got Bevan just being tagged by his teammate Snell going through Moss. So Ian Bevan's gone back. He's all the way back at the tail of that second group now. That's huge.
We're just going to grab a look at it here on the approach into Moss. We were talking about action here just before. We've got the two Milo drivers, and yet, look, it does look like a bit of net code to me, but still very costly for Mr. Bevan there as he spews. But how did he get through there on the return journey without picking anyone up? Lucky there was a bit of a gap, to be honest, because that could have been messy for a large portion of the field, but instead just Bevan unluckily missing out there. But it looks like we've had some more incidents now with Grebstad sitting in the pits. Let's jump back and see what happened there. As we jump back on board to see what happened with Grebstad, they've gone too wide there through the final stages, and it's exit. Oh my word, Henderson. Looks like he's doing rallycross there, and he's put the unfortunate Grebstad into the wall as well. That's quite a major incident through turn 9 there on lap 3 there, AJ.
Yeah, I could hear Hakon not happy there on the radio, and just looking, it doesn't look like Ben Snell's picked up any damage, but he's 1.8 seconds off the back of Canter now, and you know, I'm tipping there's no way that they're going to catch those front two. That it's going to be a race for first and second between Canter and Antonitis, and Snell and the rest are just going to have to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I'd say you're spot on there. You got two clean Movano cars out in front with showing a clean pair of heels to what is somewhat of a decimated front pack, as we've got now Snell and Oliver on Pascal looking to work together, but Pascal looking rather wounded with that rear wing, looking decidedly second hand. That's not going to help them, because the draft not going to help him. See here, side by side, Snell able to hang on to that position, whereas normally you would expect the draft to pass manoeuvre to be on there, not getting the speed. Pascal, no doubt, carrying significant damage and will be down on pace, and really that's just opening the door here for Antonides and Canter just to run away with this race. Now out to 2.2, nearly 2.3 second lead over the trailing Snell and Pascal.
Yeah, and Enzo Canter there with that draft, he was able to do a 31.7 versus Ben Snell's 32.5. So, you know, 0.8 of a second quicker than that second pack there. So, yeah, I'll be watching the second pack intently, because I'm sure we're going to get some action. But Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well to see how long Cantor and Antonidas play nice for, and when they decide that it's all gloves off and they're racing for P1.
Well, you know, we've spoken to Antonidas a lot in recent times, and of course previously a lot to Cantor post-race, and we know from what we've seen on track as well. Oh, Snell runs very wide through Moss there once again. Not his night by the looks as he ducks back into this third pack now as they look to run up up the Andretti straight on the tail end of lap 5. Well, that's leaving Pascal now, a lone soldier in P3 as Snell now joins his teammate in Russell Clark in the green decked out Team Milo car. It's 2x2 in front of them. Witten now sitting on the front of that tertiary pack as they're still 2x2 behind him. Witten making a good fist of his return to Monday Night Lights racing. Going through the final corner at White's now on the tail end of lap 6, looking to complete it now. Start of lap 7 as they cross the line now. Can Witten bridge that gap and try and grab that last position on the podium, AJ?
Yeah, well, Conde, he had a great run up that last straight as well, but just had nowhere to go. He was boxed in by the two Aussies. We know that Conde is fast. He's car 3, so really he should be further up. He's made 8 spots so far, so he's showing that he's got a turn of pace. So I'm thinking that Luke Witten has a target on his back now. Conde's coming for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very likely. Now, I'm just going to, while we're watching these guys, I'm going to jump across to the Golden Stig, who, of course, is racing live on Twitch tonight. If you ever wondered what it looks like firsthand, this is the show from the Golden Stig. He's currently sitting in P9, Mr. Tim Awema. He's car number 14 here, so looking to move up through the pack and score some good points here, both in terms of iRating and Monday Night Lights Championship. But look at that pack as they go through Moss. They're so busy. Cars ducking and weaving everywhere in front of him. And a great job from Tim tonight getting back amongst it as we jump back to the guys up front now, or at least with on the pack headed by Mr. Witten. It's still looking pretty racy out there, AJ.
Yeah, Tim's in the box seat. I'd say he's just going to wait and see what's going to happen in front, because I'm sure something's going to happen. But yeah, out front, Antonidas has just got a little bit of a gap over Enzo now. It's out to 0.9 of a second. So yeah, Antonidas showing he's got a real turn of pace here and putting in a quicker lap without the draft.
Well, that's right. I mean, Cantor, of course, he's car plate number 2, seated number 2 here, second highest rated driver, but well down at just a tick under 4,500 I rating on where he's been in previous seasons. I'd say he's been less active on the track. Certainly we haven't seen him much this season here on a Monday night, but we know Antonidas has got the seat time over Cantor this season, and it's really showing here that these two teammates and top flight drivers are putting on a great show. But looks like, as you say, in terms of looking across the garage and the challenging your teammate, Antonidas seem to have seemingly having the wood on Cantor tonight as we drop back now. That third pack, that tertiary pack, as we were saying, had Burden on the front of it briefly now with Conde and Witten now making it 3 wide on the run into 8 now. Pulls in front of Burden there. The 13-plated car of Luke Witten going on the outside of Conde through turn 8. Sweeping now into turn 9. Still looking to make it 2x2. 2 Milo cars behind them now into White's. The tail end of lap 7. Compromised line there for Russell Clark. Speaking of compromised lines, Witten using every bit of the track and more out there. There's not much grip out there on the green stuff, AJ, but he's made it work.
No, Witten through there like a lightning bolt, just as he's on his car, splitting him straight up the middle. I think Burden was smart there just to pull out and let Witten and Conde go through then. But just this is feeling like the static electricity is building up, and you know they're not going to play nice forever. Luke Witten, he's so wide, he's going to go right to the back of this pack now.
All that hard work undone as we see Witten, as you say, drop to the back of that pack after running wide there at Quebec turn 3. We now see Burden sitting behind Conde now as they sweep through Moss this time round on lap 8. About part way through as they now head on to the back straight here. The Mario Andretti straightaway, this is where all the passing really gets earned. There's so many places around this circuit where it's one line through, but this is the best opportunity. Long uphill straight, using the draft as much as you can. Burden now right on the tail end as he goes past Conde now towards the end of this Andretti straight into turn 8 now. What does it look like? Side by side, not getting it done. You can get it done here around both sides, depending on how brave you are, inside or outside, because you've got the inside now for turn 9 and then into whites at turn 10. Back to returning serve on the inside now for Conde as he I don't know what he's doing there. Maybe he got the yips or something, but I don't know if you're going to break the draft when you're only 2/10 ahead, AJ.
No, and Burden playing very dangerously there. I thought that he nearly had a touch with Conde through that last sequence of corners. The car flicked a little bit to the left, and then he went back and looked to have another go at him. But yeah, they're not afraid to be racing closely. Up front, though, I've been watching that battle as well, and it looks like Cantor, he's just happy to settle in for P2 at the moment. There's no pressure on that front two to really push too hard now. They've got a good gap back to Pascal, 5 seconds. So Canada, yeah, just looks like he's just going to sit in and wait until the last laps to bring the fight to Antonitis.
Yeah, that's right. And while we're sitting here looking at that battle, we might also grab a look at another driver out there streaming tonight, Mr. Corey Steinhauser. He's in the second split, if I'm not mistaken, here tonight, representing strongly, although he's stuck down in P9, nearly a lap down. Oh no, just in the last place at the moment, but certainly no doubt enjoying his run. I know he's a big fan of the skippies, or he's more of a dirt oval guy, but great to see him back once again joining us on a Monday night, AJ. Great. That's what it's all about. It's about getting people in and out on track and enjoying themselves, AJ.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing about Monday Night Lights is that there's points on offer for guys in split 2 and 3 as well, so they can have a good run at the championship if they want to. Just as we cut away there as well, Cantor made a fool of me because he's been sitting in back there just relaxing for lap after lap, and he had to have a go at Antonitis then, didn't he?
Of course he did. I know from experience in watching a lot of these races, AJ, that Cantor likes to be up front. And Antonides, of course, cool, calm and collected, will sit in behind. But maybe he just wants to have a bit of fun. The flashy wheels of Cantor might be egging him on in front there. And no greater rivalry than the bloke sitting across you in the team garage, of course. So great to see these boys putting on a good display, AJ.
Yeah, lap 10 of 16. Looks like they're just settling back into a rhythm now. I'm just curious to see whether Cantor's going to let Antonitis by or whether he's going to argue the position here. It looks like, yeah, it's looking like Cantor is ready to get racy with 6 laps to go. He's not let Antonitis through then. And you're right, he's going to try and lead this race all the way home, perhaps.
They say girls just want to have fun, mate. I reckon these Mivano boys are out there having big grins on their faces and hopefully enjoying every moment of it as we see the lonely Pascal in P3 after all those incidents around him. He's running a lonely race there, but he'd be happy nonetheless. Burden and Conde going too wide through the final corner there on the tail end of lap 10 as they cross the line and start at lap 11 now. Witten trying to work his way back up as the wounded Russell Clark now looked like he's picked up some contact there. That rear wing looking decidedly second hand as Burden now putting pressure all over the back of Conde through turn 2 now as these guys really trying to get amongst it and grab what they can from the remaining laps of this race, AJ.
Yeah, well, it looks like Witten's not going to be on anyone's Christmas card list this year because, yeah, through that last corner sequence on that lap, that's where Russell Clark's picked up the damage as Luke just got into the back of him. But yeah, it's showing there's lots of pressure in this pack and they're not willing to back off at all for anything.
No, these guys are fighting tooth and nail for everything they can get. High quality field, as you say. Cut-off point for this race was around just over 3,000 iRating. Certainly something that we don't see terribly often. And certainly we've got, as I said, the highest strength of field for this highest quality race, most points on offer this week, which is a great thing, of course, and building a strong community and a platform for these guys to go 2x2 through turn 8 at the end of the Andretti Straight once again. That's what it's all about. 2x2 in front again. Conde and Clark looking to lock wheels almost as up the inside Bird and trying to poke his nose through, forcing Clark very wide there, hangs onto it, and Conde once again sitting in front of this pack with just the balance of 5 laps remaining now as they cross the line this time, and this action is non-stop, AJ.
Yeah, and I was just going back, did we catch Timo Wieman's incident?
No, we did not catch
No, we didn't.
Mr.
Okay, yeah. No, so what's happened on lap 9 going into Mossy, he actually clipped the back of, I think it was Ben Snell going into Mossy, just braked far too late and then was straight off into the barrier, and yeah, that car had heaps of damage, so he's had a tour through pit lane.
He has indeed. It looks like they have a straight car now, but 2x2 through turn 2 now at Clayton Corner, although a lot of internet connection issues there from Witten by the looks, as Bird now tucked in behind him, and in front of him, those two, you got Clark still with a second hand looking rear wing from that contact that you mentioned earlier, but Conde really looking to take advantage as 2x2 they go up front as well. Looks like Antonides is forced to go to the long way around. Cantor holding that line, but now the inside running. Can he set up for the final corner? But that will be once again the inside line conceded to Cantor, forcing his teammate very wide. I tell you what, there's no multi-21 going on here, AJ. The boys have got the elbows out.
No, they're playing for keeps now, and you're right, they will be having fun. You know, perhaps they've had a little word to each other and said, look, we're out front, let's get our team on the TV and give them a bit of action to be watching. And they're putting it on, and I have to say, yeah, Cantor is not leaving Antonides a lot of room there. And, oh, Antonides so close to getting into the back of Cantor as well. They're absolutely playing hardball, but they don't want to play too hard. I mean, you know, you've got Pascal there. He's ready to take advantage. He's got nothing to lose. He's just sitting there in P3 happy as Larry. So, you know, keep it together, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I think we may have lost Pascal somewhere, because I'm not seeing. Oh no, he's still there, but he's out to a 6.5 second lead. So these guys have got plenty. He's 6.5 seconds behind, I should say. These guys have got plenty of time to play with. And the one thing I thought was interesting there, the lack of seat time for Cantor would be the biggest factor here. We saw his teammate Antonides. Oh, he's forcing him all the way over. I tell you what, there'll be words in the team room after this race, let me tell you. Cantor forcing him all the way to the outside. I was just about to say that braking is probably the biggest difference here between these two guys. We saw on the run down to Quebec last lap, Antonides goes right up on the tail, just showing that the seat time has really allowed his judgment on corners to be allowing him to brake so much deeper as he pokes the nose up the inside of turn 1 now on the start of lap 14. Just the 3 laps to go as the start of this one. And that's the difference. And we know Cantor, we've spoken to him for quite some time now about the change of equipment and the trouble that he's had adjusting to his new brake. But watch here again, you'll see Antonides slow right up behind, although it's not as obvious or not as apparent this lap round. It's interesting, you know, AJ, I don't know how many laps you turned around here, but my experience here this season, the changes to the Skip Barber car this season, as small as they might have been, have really changed the dynamic of this track. And in fact, you can do your fastest lap around here with only touching the brakes here at Moss and at the preceding Quebec corner. The rest of the lap can just be managed on your throttle off and on, and you can get quick lap times around here. So it's really changed the dynamic of this track and the whole context of how you race it.
Yeah, I haven't turned any laps in the new Skippy around here, but you know, that's something that I think that the better drivers are going to be able to exploit, is keep it simple. They're often smoother, so a track like that where you don't have to brake too much often plays to their strengths. But you know, I'm wondering now, we've only got 2 laps to go after they cross the line this time, and Antonides has been having a go around the outside at Cantor for lap after lap now, but Cantor's been able to keep ahead of him by holding that inside line. So Antonitis has been rehearsing that position, that move around the outside, but is he going to be able to get it done? I don't know. I don't know if he's got enough juice in that engine to do the move around the outside.
Yeah, only time will tell. I'll tell you what has happened though. While we're looking at that battle for the lead, the battle for the remaining positions in the top 5 has really opened up. That pack we were watching has been decimated with just the 2 drivers in Conde and Witten fighting out for P4 and 5 respectively as they're on the run down to Quebec on lap 15 of 16 now. This right-hander, one of the only 2 spots you've actually got to touch your brake on this track these days unless you run in a bit hot, of course. But these 2, the last ones remaining in that battle with Snell now sitting some 2.5 seconds behind, and we have lost Burden and Clark. Clark now taking a journey through the pits, and Burden having been through with a straighter car all the way down in P13. As we jump back up the front, we've got Cantor and Antonides once again, 2x2. This time, once again, although much better run for Antonides. They're so close to touching there through turn 8, through 9 now on the run to Whites for the penultimate time. Cantor now forced or relegated to P2 in this exciting race between the 2 teammates. Antonides seeing how hard it was to get past, perhaps thinking that it's better to lead this race and have to make the move on the final lap, AJ.
Yeah, interesting there from Cantor, who didn't have quite as big a dive into the corner that time. Still got plenty close enough to Antonitis, but we'll see now if Antonitis, he did show he was quick through this early part of the lap. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get out enough of a gap by Moss to be able to break, or not break the toe, but just lessen the toe. But Antonitis, interestingly, he's got a car ahead of him. So is he going to be able to use that draft to keep ahead of Cantor? And has Cantor just made an absolute massive mistake by letting Antonitis do on that previous lap?
We're riding on board, facing rearwards now with Antonitis as they head up the Andretti Straight for the final time. Both looking to get a pretty even run out of there. 0.3 of a second, 3.5 tenths, now down to 2 tenths. What will Cantor be able to do now as he rides on board? We're on the nose here. Oh, both of them taking advantage of the lapped car there in Burden, perhaps jumping back now. Let's see what these 2 have got on offer side by side. Once again, much tighter through there is Antonides. He's held to the inside. He's forced Cantor now to the outside of the final corner, and it looks like Cantor has conceded. Antonides, though, running too deep. 2x2 they go. No, I thought he'd run too deep and thrown it away there, but 1-2 they plated. 1-2 they finish as Oliveira Pascal passing a stricken car to finish P3, giving us a bit of a Cantor wiggle. 2x2 behind Conde and Witten now coming to cross the line. Witten looks as though he might have just been pipped there by Conde. Snell crosses the line in P6. Ian Bevan managed to stay out of the pits, but he'd have a bit of a chill after racing that race with only half a front car, or half the front of his car missing at least. Roman now crossing the line in P8. Henderson, after going somewhat rallycross style through the mid stages of this race, had the car repaired and has managed to finish inside the top 10, I should say, as has Mr. Awema, the Golden Stig. He will be relatively happy, I would think, with that result, finishing inside the top 10 and better for the run, I'd suggest, AJ.
Yeah, car 1 and 2, they're showing their class, weren't they? They were racing plenty hard there towards the end, but they were able to avoid making contact, which is more than we can really say for a lot of the other guys throughout the field. We saw plenty of incidents, which, yeah, I don't know. I was surprised with the strength of the field. I would have expected a little bit cleaner, and you can see that some guys have really suffered. But Ian Bevan there, though, I would say he would just be happy to come home in P7 and call that one damage limitation after being the first car out. I think it was making his way back up to P7.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. If you're going to go out, you may as well go out early because it gives you the best chance of taking advantage of any opportunities while that remain, I should say. Let's take a look at our race results now for round 11, the penultimate round, coming to you live Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, of course, officially known as Mosport, finishing a hotly contested race there. On the top of the pops was Mr. Fahim Antoinitis from UKNI and Team Bavano. His teammate in P2, of course, Enzo Cantor, making a strong and welcome return to joining us here in the field on a Monday night. Great drive from those two. Put on a great show up front and showed what sort of friendly team rivalry is all about. P3 went to a lonely Carlos Olvera Pascal, who I'm sure won't be too worried about driving all alone because that's a great result for him. Gustavo Conde from Iberia in P4 with a tight finish with the leading ANZ driver tonight on another return to a Monday night racing was Mr. Luke Whitten in P5. P6, somewhat of a recovery too for Ben Snell. P7, Ian Bevan, his Team Milo teammate, who managed to hang on with half a car and finish in P7. P8 went to Cristobal Otero Roman from Iberia, the first car of a gaggle that had to go through the pits tonight. Kevin Henderson, after that amazing exit stage right, finished all the way down in P9. Tim Awima, the Golden Stick himself, up 4 positions inside the top 10. P11 went to Russell Clark, current series leader. He might get some points out of that depending on how drop rounds play out, but certainly not where he envisaged his night finishing up. P12 and the last of the Monday Night Lights points went to Ivan Blanco Fernandez from Iberia, who was down one lap and having quite a tough night by the looks. P13, we expected bigger things, but unfortunately not for Josh Burden tonight. Down one lap after that incident towards the later stages of the race. And our only retirement for this evening, a despondent Håkon Grebstad on his return to Monday Night Light Racing, AJ, not the way he would have liked to have joined us.
No, and I was just going back and having a look at the incident. It was lap 3 at Moss, and that was really the catalyst for all the drama early on in the race, because it wasn't just Ben Snell getting into the back of Bevan, but also Pascal got caught out with the checkup and then got rear-ended by Roman, who got rear-ended by Burden. So there were 5 cars in that one corner on lap 3 that made contact, and hence why the front two were able to get away, and everyone else was licking their wounds with very damaged cars.
Yeah, look, that kind of happens here. It's very hard to break away. There's really only one line, as I said, in a number of places. So, yeah, an unfortunate racing incident, no doubt, but certainly one that the boys will not be happy with. Now, we've got a few boys in the commentary, in the broadcast green room. As is tradition on Monday night, we'll bring them up in finishing order. Mr. Antoinitis, Fahim Antoinitis, joining us once again on a Monday night light for a bit of a drought breaker, mate. Great result there, and looked like you're having a bit of fun with your teammate up there with Enzo.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, it was a good race. And Enzo hasn't been racing the Skippy for a while. He's been on the MX5s at the moment with Marcello Pagnan, who's one of the top racers in the MX5 series. So he's a bit rusty, and it kind of explains why I managed to get pole because um, it wasn't a good lap. My first lap was horrendous. The second lap was I'd give it a 7 out of 10. So I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to have to second row of the grid, but thank God that Enzo's out of practice, so that was okay. And then during the race itself, this car now with a new build is, as we all know, a little bit more draggy than it used to be. And races on this track used to be quite simple. You would just sit in somebody's draft, you'd clear them well before the S's going into the back straight, going into those S's, and then that was it. But now, with that extra bit of drag, it's not that clear cut, and what I had to do was try and gauge where was the optimum time to start drafting somebody, because when you come out of the Moss corner, if you're too close to the car in front, whereas before you could just whiz past them, now what happens is that you don't give enough time for the overspeed to build up, and by the time you pull out the slipstream, the guy can get a side draft and pretty much stay with you level going into the SS. So what I had to try and figure out was how far back I needed to be to get a draft to be able to clear him, and it happened to be zero point 0.4 of a seconds, and that just about gives you enough of a overspeed to then clear into the S's. But of course, trying to gauge the distance through that complex Moss corner section is not that easy. But thankfully, what happened is towards the end of the race, there was a lap car or a back mark, if you saw, and I thought, you know what? Usually, you'd want to sit behind the guy going into the last lap. But I thought if I get in front of Enzo going into the last lap, then that lap car in front of me was A, quick enough, and B, far away enough that I could neutralize Enzo's draft from behind by just sticking behind that guy, and and it worked. So it was a good result in the end.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear what goes on in the mind of the racer who's got the wherewithal to form those strategies in the midst of battle there. And I did suggest towards the latter stages of the race, well, that penultimate lap, I suggested you probably thought being in front was the way to go because, as you say, judging that exit and being able to get just the right amount of draft up that straight is now so much more challenging with the new build and the track and the way you attack it has changed so much as well. We were commenting during the race. So, but mate, I was very impressed with the strategy and how you were able to play it out
Well,
there. And sorry,
well,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean that had to be built up a couple of laps beforehand because I thought the lap car would come into play in the last lap, so therefore I needed to pass Enzo the lap before then, going into the S's so that I could be in front and take advantage of that last lap car. So it was really crucial to try and get that precise zero point 0.4 of a second gap coming out of Moss 2 laps before the end to be able to take advantage of that. Otherwise, I think Enzo would have snitched it. But it
Yeah.
was really, really enjoyable.
Well, there you go, folks. It's a game of chess out there as much as it is hanging on for dear life. So, fantastic insights there, Fahim. Thank you once again for joining us here on a Monday night. Congratulations on a return to the top of the tables, and I think that might even grab you the lead in the championship. We'll have to see how the points play out. But before we let you go tonight, mate, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to my team, Thrustmaster Mivano. I don't know if you've heard, but they got a new signing, Tom Ward, to race in the Skip Barber series. So I think the Skip Barber element of the team seems to be catching on at the moment, and I hope that more people would look to join us.
Cat.
So that's a good thing.
Absolutely, catching on is right, mate. If you're attracting that quality of driver, you must be doing something right. But thank you once again for joining us here, and we look forward to speaking to you in the coming weeks.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
There you go, AJ. Fantastic insight into what goes on underneath the helmet during quite an intense race.
Yeah, and it shows how good they are. They're able to drive these things at the limit and do a bit of complex mathematics at the same time. Down to the 10th of a second of what he needs. Uh, and I'm sure we're going to hear Enzo's side of the story now and what he was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And that's what it takes to be a top flight driver. You have to have the seat time and the muscle memory such that it's all second nature and the brain capacity is not wasted on steering the car as much as it is deciding how you're going to steer it to victory. But as you say, we're going to join now one of the MNL favourites returning to join us on a Monday night, Mr. Enzo Cantor. Welcome back and congratulations on a great race and a pretty good result there.
Hi guys. Yeah, thank you. This is one of my favorite tracks, so it wasn't impossible for me to not be here today. Last week's, I would be pleased to be with you, but I had some work trouble. I have a lot of work, so that was the only reason I didn't race the Monday Lights. So today it was another day for me because I don't know if you know, but I raced all the week with my friend Marcelo Pagnan in the MX5 all the week. So no practice with the skip on this track at all. And the car are a little bit similar, but not so much. So I had to try find again my confidence with the car, and it was not so easy at all. When I saw Fahim on the grid, I was almost sure he could beat me. So in fact, in qualifying, he did it. And then in the race, I'm very sorry because with a mistake, I caused the concertina effect that forced the band to rear end Jan. I take 50% responsibility in that because they would not expect a mistake like that from me. And then me and Fahim were going away. His goal perhaps was to work together till the last lap and battle in the last lap only, but I didn't want to give you a boring race, so no team orders, and I try to defend all the race. And unfortunately, in the penultimate lap, he passed me, but he deserved the victory because obviously he was a little bit faster than me because of my confidence was not perfect. In the penultimate lap, my goal was to reach the lapped car in order to use the draft to defend more easily the first position, but that was what Fahim did. So, but it was my mistake in the penultimate lap because if I would not be passed in the penultimate lap, perhaps I would defend better the first position in the last lap. But obviously I didn't want to risk too much because we were first and second in 3,900 strength of field. So the important thing was to arrive and finish the race both.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, you certainly did put on a good show. We were watching the strategies play out between the two of you, and you almost had it there. Both of you, I think, had similar plans on how to win the race. And look, for someone who hasn't spent much time in the skippies lately, mate, you certainly haven't lost it. So congratulations on a fantastic performance. Welcome back. And before we let you go, of course, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, sure. I have to say thanks to my team manager Fabio Mantellini that he is always with me. He's my first fan, and obviously my team Ivano Transmaster, all my sponsors, and my teammate, and you obviously because surely you did another awesome work today, and I can't wait to look at the broadcast now after we finish the interview.
Awesome. Thanks, Enzo, mate. Look, it's a real pleasure to have you back and back with us in the booth. You're a popular addition to the field, mate. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you in the coming weeks. And yeah, look, mate, more success to you in the future.
Thank you, Alex.
There you go, AJ. Great to see the Italian stallion back out on track there. I know the crowd loves a good Enzo interview at the end of a race. He gives good insight, and it's funny, the strategies between the two Movano boys seem to be quite similar. Just probably, like I said, that seat time probably swinging it in favour of Antonidas in the end.
Yeah, great to have Enzo back, and yeah, basically confirming what we were saying throughout the broadcast. They were both trying to get that draft of the lap car, and Enzo trying to lead it from the front to do that. But at least Enzo, he can boast to his teammate that he did get the fastest lap of the race.
There you go. All right. Our last interview from the top split tonight is Mr. Ben Snell. Ben, look, you fought back to P6 there in the end, but things not going to plan, mate.
Oh, look, I'd like to trade in some pace for some luck if I can for next week.
Yeah, that's it. Look, Enzo was just in the booth and he was just telling us how he felt he had to take about half the blame for your incident because he checked up at the at Moss there and felt that concertinaed the field into a position where the incident occurred. Is that how you saw it, mate?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like obviously Enzo ran wide, but not into the dirt wide, but it was enough to check Ian up, and then obviously everyone behind's getting checked up behind that, and I reckon if I didn't kill Ian, I probably would have been killed from behind because there's only so many people that can break in time, kind of thing. But I was basically blind at that point, and I was probably too close. I'll definitely take responsibility for that, for being probably a little bit too aggressive at the start. But it is what it is. It's just Safeway car park stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's only so much you can do. I mean, you've got to be up the tailpipe of the guy in front to remain competitive. But then, as you say, coming into that Moss hairpin there, you're unsighted to the point where you're fully committed, and there's only so much you can do before physics kicks in. So bad luck on that. I'm glad to see you managed to fight back and get a decent result. Congratulations on that, and thanks again for joining us, mate. It's always a great pleasure having you on track and in the booth. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
As always, you guys for putting on the broadcast. Shout out to Team Milo, even though I'm killing half of them. And Russell says hi.
Very good. Hi to your teammate in Russell, who may have just lost the series lead for the moment. Congratulations, Ben. We look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks.
All right, catch you guys.
There you go, AJ. Team Milo, well, their leading driver, if I'm not mistaken, tonight. Just sort my order there. Yeah, just ahead of his teammate in Ian Bevan. Some conversations in that dressing room, no doubt, as well.
Yeah, as we were saying at the start, Ben Snell, he's had so much bad luck of recent. When's it going to turn around for him? And I'm tipping next week at Bathurst. He should have done plenty of laps around Bathurst, being an Australian. So I'm calling it next week. Ben Snell on the podium.
Oh, big call. I hope for his sake it is. Yeah, it'll be a great result for a local boy. Now we've got a couple of the guys relegated to the lower splits tonight in the green room. I'm going to take a punt and say Skoltzy was the leader of those two. Mr. John Skoltz relegated to, out of the top split tonight. We had such a bumper field. Where did you end up tonight? I'm assuming the second split, John. How did the race go for you?
Yeah, so I mean, Tim's Wimmer, the Golden Stig, is now our number one driver. I get relegated to the second split, but glad to say I took up his mantle and took the victory there, top step. So happy with that.
Fantastic effort, mate. Those races are not easy to win. In fact, why don't I just grab the Golden Stig on camera in replay while we talk to you, just so we can get a look at some of that Team Venom livery going on. Victory for yourself in the second split. I mean, as disappointing as it must have been to miss out on the top split, best strength of field we've had all season, actually, which is probably why you were relegated. Those wins, like I said, they're not easy to come by. How was the action on track?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it's not a walk in the park in the second split. There were about four of us battling it up front, lap after lap. Good battle with James, Mick, and Sean. And yeah, it was just great until the very end. Last corner passing, and yeah, took the win. So not running away with it. Good fight.
And that's why we do it, right? It doesn't necessarily matter where you finish in the field as long as you get some great on-track action. But, of course, the icing on the cake, the victory to boot, mate. Congratulations on that. And anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to?
Oh, I just want to say I'm going to be farming Bathurst this week to ensure that I get that top split position next week. And yeah, shout out to the Venom boys and Tim, number one driver. I'm coming for you, mate.
Awesome. Thanks, Goldsy. We look forward to speaking to you in the coming weeks.
Cheers, boys.
There you go, AJ. Well, the long-held top spot in the garage was with John Skoltz at Team Venom, but now, of course, it's with the Golden Stig himself, who joined us in chat momentarily. Great drive and a great purple patch, as we've been saying for him, but fantastic result for John tonight.
Yeah, P1 for Skoltzy in the second split. I was expecting him to come up and say not bad for a number two driver, but he missed out on that golden opportunity to roll off that perfect one-liner.
Oh, mate, we can only set him up. It's up to him to knock him down, eh? But joining us from, I'm going to have a guess at the third split tonight. Corey Steinhauser, of course, we cut across to his live stream there briefly, and he was trundling around there. Corey, how did the race finish up for you?
Well, it wasn't the best of races for me tonight. I was hoping for a good result because it is my birthday today, and yeah, I just didn't have the race that I was hoping for. There was a bit of a prank going into turn one. It took out a few cars, and we actually had two disconnects out of it. And after that, I was pushing a little bit too hard, and I got caught out by the exit curb in turn one, and had to go for a trundle down the pits to get some repairs done. I ended up finishing in P9.
Well, that's where I think we saw you when we crossed you. That was. I'm sorry to hear that it didn't get any better, but and no gifted victories out here, birthday or otherwise, mate. But hopefully, we will see you bigger and better for the final round at Bathurst next week. All roads lead to Mount Panorama, of course. We did cross to you live on the stream, mate. Let everyone know where they can follow the Corey Has No Life action.
Well, guys, if you want to come check out my live streams, I'm still going to be continuing on after this, but I'm going to be changing the game. You can find me at twitch.tv/Corey Has No Life 13. And while I'm here, I just want to give a quick shout out to all my moderators and my VIPs in chat. You guys really make the chat go off, and I can't thank you guys enough for sticking by me and helping me out all this time.
Awesome work. It does take a team to make those things work successfully, mate. So congratulations on that, and shout out to the team. So thanks once again for joining us, Corey, and hopefully we can see a better result and some more on-track action for you next week.
Oh, I'm hoping for big things at Bathurst. It's one of my favourite tracks, and I did well there when we did our FNRC Enduro. So yeah, fingers crossed for some good results there.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. We'll see you then. There you go, AJ. Just grabbed a bit of a replay of that major incident with Grebstad and Henderson. Spectacular to say the least, but not not the way either of those guys would have wanted to end the race. But still, that's the way it was, and that was round 11, folks, of 12 rounds this season once again. It's really starting to heat up at the front of this race. I'll be publishing the results in the usual places shortly after this race. But any thoughts in closing on what we saw on track tonight, AJ?
Yeah, no, it's just, well, you never know what you're going to get with the skippies, do you? We could have had a whole race long with a nice big snake, but yeah, that lap 3 turn or Moss incident really threw a bomb into the field, and that was that, so to speak. But looking forward to next week. There's only 1 week to go, and I'm just crossing my fingers that Russell's going to be able to hold on and clinch the championship for Team Milo.
Yeah, absolutely. Russell having a very good season. Tim and Weemer also right up there, grabbing some points again tonight to aid his cause. Of course, his racing has been interrupted by stints in the booth with me. So fantastic to see him right up in the top 5 and gunning for a podium for the season overall. But that's about it for us here tonight, folks. AJ, where can folks catch your on-track action this week?
Yeah, as always, AJ_77, and I think again it'll be Friday nights, and then I'll try and chuck up a stream for Saturday. I think because we'll be running the NASCAR truck around Bathurst, so that should be good fun.
Good fun and quite a handful. I will be similarly on Twitch at Top Split TV, where I'll be running some skips at Bathurst this week. Really looking forward to that. Of course, all roads lead to the mountain next Saturday night as well. But if you are looking to catch up on all the Monday Night Lights back catalogue, head over to thetopsplit.com, where you'll also find the latest episode of the Top Split podcast featuring AJ and myself in the first Splash and Dash episode. Of course, we're looking to put out another episode towards the tail end of this week where we're discussing the topics of the day. Short and sharp, in and out. Leave them wanting more is what I say, AJ. But on behalf of Alex John, I have been your host, Alex McKellar, and thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us here for round 11 of Monday Night Lights, and we really appreciate your company and look forward to you joining us again next week. And until then, I will say ciao for